coming up on WUFT's First at 5. We're live in Lake City following a press conference with Governor Ron DeSantis that shifted focus rather quickly.
We're also live in front of the Alachua County Public Schools District Office after a nearby threat sparked discussions over local school safety.
Francine is strengthening in the Gulf of Mexico and is headed for landfall tomorrow. I will have the latest track and more. First at 5 starts right now.
First at 5 from the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications. You're watching WUFT News.
A discussion about caring for roads in rural towns quickly turned into a press conference about Florida's amendments on marijuana and abortion. This is WUFT's First at 5. I'm Juan Chaoui.
And I'm Roches. Governor Ron DeSantis was in Lake City today to discuss infrastructure funding. WUFT's Bianca Smith is live there tonight. Bianca, the governor laid out why the amendments should not pass.
Well, the governor did talk about the $122 million they're going to use towards rural counties. He also did talk about the Third and Fourth Amendments. That's talking about the legalization of recreational marijuana use here in Florida and the government's ability to restrict abortion rights here in Florida. And these are both things that Governor Ron DeSantis has been openly critical about, especially when it comes to the wording surrounding both ballot initiatives. When asked about the Third Amendment, DeSantis said the marijuana company Trulieve is a marijuana cartel. And he also spoke about the Fourth Amendment. And he's very concerned about how Democrats are spreading what he calls lies with their advertisements.
These amendments, they're supposed to be citizen initiatives. What they've turned into is special interest initiatives. So Amendment 3 is the corporate marijuana amendment. That has been funded over $80 million.
President Trump has said that he will vote yes to legalize the recreational. President Trump has said that he will vote yes to legalize the recreational use of marijuana here in Florida. He said that it's time to end needless arrest. Amendment 3 would allow adults 21 and over to possess, purchase, or use marijuana products. The amendments need 60% to pass. The day for elections is Tuesday, November 5th. Reporting live in Lake City, Bianca Smith, WUFT News.
Before the conversation turned to Florida's amendments, Governor DeSantis discussed the $122 million in infrastructure funding heading to several North Central Florida counties. Governor DeSantis stated that $4.2 million will go to Bradford County and nearly $3 million is slated for Columbia County. $2.2 and $2.5 million are going to Gilchrist and Levy counties. Suwannee is receiving $3.6 million. The governor says they are working with FDOT to distribute the money through the Small County Outreach and Small County Resurface Assistance programs.
Texas and Louisiana are preparing for Tropical Storm Francine, which is expected to become a hurricane later today. The tropical storm is headed towards the states with wind speeds of 65 miles per hour, just 9 miles per hour short of hurricane status. How the states anticipate Francine's arrival. Satellite imagery shows the storm moving north-northeastward across the western Gulf of Mexico. The National Hurricane Center says the storm will continue along the Texas coastline into tonight. The Texas Department of Insurance advised residents to clean their gutters and check their generators. The Louisiana Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness issued a state of emergency yesterday. Louisiana GOSEP officials addressed possible concerns.
You may experience power outages. And then one of the things most concerning to us in GOSEP is generator safety.
GOSEP Facebook page recommends citizens create disaster supplies, including important documents, food, a weather radio, and other essentials. They also recommend families create an evacuation plan to go north if necessary. The National Hurricane Center says the storm could reach the state early Wednesday morning.
We're taking a live look outside on our DOT cams. This is out over Prains Prairie. The UF weather team is tracking some storms later today and potential impacts from Tropical Storm Francine. WUFT's Matthew Clark joins us now with the weather forecast.
So the good news is that we won't be seeing much impacts from Francine. However, we do see some dreary skies over our campus cam. Temperature 81 degrees, some more dreary skies overlooking Ben Hill Griffin. Winds from the north-northeast around 9 miles per hour. Temperatures 82 in Gainesville, 79 over in Ocala, Brunson, 81 degrees. And we're seeing a couple of passing showers moving to the west. Ocala just seeing some light showers now. Just to the west of Williston, seeing some showers, and a couple of long lines of showers moving in west until towards Stark. See tropical storm Francine, very disorganized. I expect it to start to strengthen and intensify as it heads its way further north. I'll have the latest on that track, some flash flood risks, and the weekend forecast coming up.
Columbia County law enforcement is providing an update on reports of gunshots near Fort White High School. They say a citizen was target practicing in the area off campus. This is unrelated to the threats we told you earlier about today. This follows multiple arrests following social media threats in Columbia County schools over the last 3 days. We told you earlier today about a recently arrested 14-year-old charged with a second-degree felony in connection to making the threats. Columbia County deputies already arrested a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old for other threats. Officials say they are taking every threat seriously and will hold everyone involved accountable.
A school shooting at a Georgia high school and social media threats in Columbia County have sparked school safety conversations. Here locally, Gainesville and surrounding areas are prioritizing their students' safety. WUFT's Tanya Fedak is live outside the Alachua County Public Schools District with information on how Alachua and Marion County schools are working to keep students safe.
This week, Alachua County Public Schools are switching to a new mobile alert device called Raptor, which is reserved only for its school board employees. It alerts both people on campus and law enforcement of a potential intruder with just the click of a button. Today, I spoke with the directors of communication for both Alachua and Marion County Public Schools about what they're doing to keep their students safe in the wake of recent school shootings. This scene is one that's triggering for Kevin Christian.
I've been the director of public relations with Marion County Public Schools for 23 years.
He remembers the school shooting that took place in his district in 2018.
In this day and age, whenever something goes wrong at a school, every school in the country suffers because of it.
Frustrated is the exact word Jackie Johnson used.
I don't know what the answer is, but whatever it is, it needs to happen.
Alachua County Schools implemented 4 main safeguards to ensure the safety of staff and students. These include increasing security at school entrances, regularly completing drills, maintaining a strong relationship with local law enforcement agencies, and an alert system that notifies 911 if an emergency arises. New revisions include building fences, installing buzzers at entrances, and having all doors lock. Marion County is also taking proactive measures.
There's lots of protocols, lots of security measures in place. We have cameras, we have strobe lights, we have alarms, we have panic buttons, we have door buzzers. But the best tool that we have are the eyes and the ears of our students and staff members.
All while hoping scenes like this cease to exist. Marion County Public School Board employees have panic devices they wear around their neck called Strategics. If you press the button 3 times, it alerts people on campus of a potential intruder. Pressing it 8 or more times alerts law enforcement and sends them your exact location. These are the same devices that were used by staff members at Appalachia High School in Georgia. Live from Alachua County Public Schools District Office, Tanya Fedak, WUFT News.
It's been more than a decade since a man in Marion County was believed to have been killed, and detectives are hoping for new leads in the case to solve it. Back in 2014, the remains of Vitaly Olenchuk were found near Highway 315. His remains were examined, and the cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma as the result of a homicide. He was confirmed alive in 2012, but there are reports he may have been seen in 2013. Before his death, he had ties to the Eastern European community in Jacksonville and St. Augustine. Now, Marion County investigators and Detective Ryan Stith are urging anyone with information to come forward.
So obviously now there's a lot more people attached to social media, so I think it's important to be able to disseminate the information to a larger audience, that somebody may have information that wants to come forward or maybe didn't want to come forward before and now that has the piece of the puzzle that could solve this case.
Detectives are asking neighbors if they have any information about the case to reach out to the Marion County Sheriff's Office or submit a tip to ocalacrimestoppers.com.
Coming up next, when First at 5 returns, fighting against lab-grown meat. The latest battle over the legalities of the practice now head into a Florida courtroom.
Plus, debate showdown, the presidential candidates' plans to swing the momentum in their direction after tonight's anticipated debate. We'll be right back.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Tonight's high-stakes debate between former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris could provide a make-or-break moment in what is shaping up to be a razor-tight presidential race. As Alice Barr reports, the former president will look to paint his opponent as too progressive, while the vice president will make the case that the other choice is a threat to democracy.
As former President Trump and Vice President Harris prepare to meet for the first time on a Philadelphia debate stage, each is looking for a breakthrough moment to shift the neck-and-neck race.
How are you feeling?
For the vice president, no bigger stage to reintroduce herself, as new polling shows more than a quarter of those surveyed need to learn more about her.
Hopefully she gets some tough questions and then can answer some questions, and maybe I can change my mind.
The former president's task, many allies and supporters say, to keep his cool and focus on policy.
What he's going to do and how he's going to do it, and stay away from trying to pick Harris.
In mock debate prep, sources tell NBC News the Harris team zeroed in on ways to try to needle Mr. Trump into an outburst and studied past debate clips. He largely kept his composure during the Trump-Biden debate that turned the race on its head 75 days ago. Previewing his approach today, former President Trump telling NBC News Vice President Harris has changed all her policies over the years and is no longer believable. He'll look to cast her as both more of the same and too far to the left in attacks over immigration and the economy. The one-time prosecutor preparing to push back.
We should be prepared for the fact that he is not burdened by telling the truth.
Supporters hoping she'll take the former president head on.
I want her to fact-check him if she can, or challenge his untruths.
While working to defend her record in the Biden administration and define her own path forward. In Philadelphia, Alice Barr, NBC News.
A federal judge will hear arguments next month about whether he should block a new Florida law that bars the production and sale of cultivated meat in the state. Cultivated meat, often known as lab-grown meat, is made through a process that includes taking a small number of cultured cells from animals and growing them in controlled settings to make food. A hearing is scheduled for October 7th on a request by the California-based Upside Foods Incorporated for a preliminary injunction against the law, which Governor Ron DeSantis signed in May. Upside Foods filed a lawsuit last month challenging the constitutionality of the law. The lawsuit contends, in part, that a federal poultry products law preempts Florida from imposing such a ban.
Florida's law is a transparent example of economic protectionism. It was passed following intense lobbying by cattle interests, and its protectionist purpose was no secret.
The motion for a preliminary injunction pointed to what is known as the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution, which generally leads to federal laws trumping conflicting state laws. The state faces a deadline next week for filing a response to the motion for a preliminary injunction. State Agriculture Commissioner Wilson Simpson last month called the lawsuit, quote, ridiculous, and said lab-grown meat is not proven to be safe enough for consumers.
Francine is spinning and is strengthening. I've got the latest track and more coming up next.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Happy Tuesday. Still tracking Tropical Storm Francine off the east coast of Texas right now. Rather disorganized group of storms, but I expect it to strengthen as it starts to head its way further north. Winds right now 65 miles per hour, and it's moving northeast around 10 miles per hour, but as it makes landfall as it heads into tomorrow night, it's expected to make landfall as a strong Category 1, reaching 90 miles per hour. As we head into Friday night and Saturday morning, those winds are going to start to drop down as the hurricane is going to become a post-tropical depression. Now, where Francine is at right now is over very warm Gulf temperature waters, really expected to feed into that intensity as it starts to make its way towards Louisiana. New Orleans expected to get 70% chance of storm force winds as Francine starts to make its way towards landfall, and a 5% chance of storm force winds over in Destin. So the Panhandle could see some effects. Storm surge also a big issue when it comes to hurricanes. Up to 12 feet of storm surge south of Lafayette, and Biloxi could see up to 6 feet or less as we head into Wednesday. Live radar right now, New Orleans starting to see some rain from Francine as it starts to head further north. Starting to see some overcast clouds in our area as well. Do have a couple more tropical areas of invest right now. Do have a chance that these develop, and even if they do develop, these won't really make landfall as they will just tail off into the Atlantic coast. Our area right now, Campus Cam, 77 degrees, overcast skies for the most part, winds from the northeast around 15 miles per hour. See that we do have some storms south in Ocala starting to rain themselves out. In Williston, just to the west of Williston, they have some rain starting to move west in towards Cedar Key. Now, future radar as we head into Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning, a couple feeder rain bands could start to see parts of our area. As we head into Wednesday afternoon, we could see some rain from Francine as we head into Wednesday night and into Wednesday evening as well. Highest rain chance as we head into tomorrow, though. Shower is going to continue around noon as we head into 4. Temperature is going to remain into the low 80s, though. Going to remain relatively cooler, but that's just because of all the rain. Marginal risk of flash flooding. Do have a moderate risk all the way over in Louisiana and Mississippi. That's because when Francine makes landfall on Wednesday, going to dump a lot of rain into that area. Game day is on Saturday. Texas A&M kickoff at 3:30. See some isolated showers, temperatures reaching up into the mid-80s. 7-day forecast, though, temperature is going to remain relatively constant in the upper 80s. Those rain chances start to taper off as we head into later parts of this week and into early next week.
Coming up in sports, Gator Volleyball had an eventful weekend, seeing them drop 3 spots in the rankings. But they aren't the only ones who took a tumble this weekend. We'll talk volleyball and more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Scarlett Cooney. High school volleyball is in full swing, and the Santa Fe Raiders added another win to their now 9-3 record at home last night. The Raiders, the number 2 ranked team in the area according to Max Preps, defeated the number 7 Newberry Panthers in 3 sets, led by junior Brooke Finley with 10 kills. Santa Fe will move on to host 5-7 Forest tonight at 7. There are 9 other matchups tonight, including Williston hosting Newberry and Buchholz taking on number 1 The Rock. Staying in volleyball, the Florida Gators have dropped to number 13 in the latest Division I coaches poll after moving to 5-1 on the season. But the Gators weren't the only team to have a shaky weekend, as 11 teams dropped from the September 2nd rankings. Florida's only loss came from USF 3-2 this past weekend in the Florida Invitational. The Gators will travel to Atlanta to take on number 15 Georgia Tech tomorrow and Alabama State on Thursday. Heading to the football field, the Gators are set to face their first SEC opponent of the season this weekend in Texas A&M. Florida picked up their first win on Saturday against Samford, where fans saw a spectacular performance from freshman quarterback DJ Lagway. However, head coach Billy Napier announced yesterday that Graham Mertz will get the start against A&M after recovering from a concussion. The Gators will see some familiar faces this weekend as Jaden Hill and Scooby Williams are set to make their return to the Swamp, this time lining up for the Aggies. Florida linebacker Shamar James commented on the return of his former teammates.
I told Webb a couple minutes ago, man, just if you see Jay Hill or Scuba, just run at him. I don't care if the touchdown that way, run at him. So, those my guys, but, come Saturday, they're opponents again. So, I wish them the best, and I wish Texas A&M the best.
Finally, former Gator and NFL running back Emmett Smith has been named the honorary Mr. Two-Bits for the Texas A&M game. Smith played for the Gators from 1987 to 1989 before playing 15 seasons in the NFL. It'll be nice to have Emmett Smith back in the Swamp, huh?
Yeah, no, it'll be really exciting to see him perform the 2-bits, 4-bits, 6-bits. It's just a great treat every single time.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And it was an evening game last week, but it's going to be a 3:30 game this weekend. What is the weather going to look like that?
Yeah, so 3:30 game, it's going to be a hot one, assuming it does get to the upper 80s, 89 degrees, 60% chance of rain. So the rain could keep us cool, could also delay the game. Temperature is going to remain constant in the upper 80s. Rain chance is going to start to taper off as we head into the early parts of next week.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and on all our social media platforms. Have a good night.